How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to your favorite weekly horoscope, this time for March 8th through March 14th of 2021. Thank you guys so much for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you guys. As you can see, I'm in my new apartment. I made the move. All right, everything worked out. For everyone that sent me, good energy and good luck with the move, I really appreciate it. I think it worked out. This is not the background. Don't mind the mess that I have going on here, but this is not going to be the permanent background. I've got some stuff that I'm working on to where everything will look a little bit nicer and neater. However, yeah, I'm really excited to do this horoscope. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm very excited to not be in LA anymore and off my Mars line. I feel a little bit more relaxed. However, it's funny talking about feeling more relaxed because this week I think is a very relaxing week in a sense. Next week when we get to Aries season and spring begins and everything kind of really gets ramped up next week, like not in a bad way either, like a really productive springtime energy. But this week before next week, this week is very I was tweeting about this earlier. It's kind of like taking like a spiritual bath. Like this is kind of, cleansing yourself before we get into the spring equinox. So let's go ahead and jump into this week. So we start this week. This is actually today. I'm recording this on Saturday. Of course, I'm recording this like right when it's Gemini rising. We get to Monday, and as we start Monday, the moon's going to pretty much be void, and it's going to be conjoining Pluto. Now, depending on who you are, there's a lot of, you could say this moon is void, you could say this moon's not void. Pretty much on Monday, it's just the moon in Capricorn hanging out. It's going to be conjoining Pluto, so there is this sense of like underlying fear in a sense, underlying anxiousness. The moon on top of Capricorn though is just kind of like work through it, like don't give it more energy than it needs. It's kind of like if you're faced with a T-Rex, don't move and it won't see you. In case you guys ever face Tyrannosaurus Rexes in your day-to-day life, just remember that. But as the moon's at the end degrees of Capricorn here, Monday's really kind of chill in my opinion. Like Sunday, the moon will be in Capricorn, making a sextile to Venus and the sun. So there's this sense of, being constructive, getting a lot done, but kind of being relaxed about it too. The vibe kind of, that vibe kind of enters into Monday too. I really wouldn't expect Monday to be all too crazy. However, then we get into Tuesday. Now, Tuesday's kind of interesting because the moon kind of does this little pinball effect where it kind of goes from place to place. Now, the moon's going to enter Aquarius. It's going to first trine Mars. So, as we get to, of course, the moon leaving Capricorn, going into Aquarius, it's kind of like, the pressure's off. You still have to be a little bit more serious. You could still be more detached from your emotions. But there's some, the windows are open. The breeze is kind of starting to come through. And as the moon first ingresses into Aquarius, when everything's, we've had pretty much a fuck ton of planets in Aquarius since, January at this point? It's already March, and we still have Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn. This is the third or fourth time the moon's been here, and there's still, the party's still going on. There's still a bunch of planets here. So I think the moon going into Aquarius is still kind of telling some more of that story that all this Aquarius stuff has brought into the picture. The moon's going to be activating all this kind of stuff. But with this time around, now that Mercury is direct, Mercury, we already got the Mercury-Jupiter conjunction. Mercury's going to leave shadow this week. I think as the moon enters Aquarius this time around, Tuesday feels very we know what's going on with where Aquarius is at in our chart now. We've got it kind of handled. But as the moon trines Mars, this is going to be very active energy. You're going to feel okay, now that I see the situation clearly, now that I have a different perspective, where can I take action on? What do I need to be doing? Mars in Gemini is good. I tweeted about, Mars and Gemini being about energy and having more energy. And a lot of people are like, I don't have energy right now. What's up with that? Mars is peregrine in Gemini for right now. Mars will have a little bit of, dignity in a little bit. But when a planet's peregrine, it's kind of got take advantage of whatever opportunity it has, right? When Mars was in Taurus and it was in detriment, there was this kind of, lack of opportunity, so to say. Versus Mars and Gemini, sure, it's not necessarily handed on a silver platter to Mars, but there's an opportunity to take more action. It's a little bit easier. The ball's more in your court. Mars is going to be applying to Saturn and Jupiter, so it's going to ramp up as it goes along, but it really just begins now. But as the moon trines Mars, this is a good time to ask yourself, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Mars in Gemini is going to want to do two different things. It's going to be easy to get distracted. It's going to be easy to get too worked up into things. So with all of the air stuff, make sure you're not just, don't be an airhead yourself, essentially. But on Tuesday, with the Moon Mars trine, that looks fun at first, but then the Moon's going to square Uranus. So there's this sense of going too quickly, or maybe trying to implement all of this new stuff super fast might create some destabilization. It might be a little rocky at first. Now that we're kind of getting into these new systems, this new way of doing things with this Aquarius stuff, Mars is saying, hey, go for it, use that. But as the Moon squares Uranus, don't expect it to always work smoothly. It's still a bumpy ride. And after the Moon squares Uranus on Tuesday, it will then apply to Saturn. So this is where it's okay, you're I get it. Let me take action. Moon squares Uranus, where you're I kind of fucked up that. I kind of fucked that up. So that wasn't the best thing. And the Moon conjoining Saturn is all right, what do you need to learn? What do you need to apply? What do you need to master? Where do you need to discipline yourself on? The Moon conjoining Saturn on Tuesday night is going to feel a little weak in the sense where you're not going to feel very comfortable. You're going to feel very serious about a lot of things, which, I think there's a time and place for that, which is okay. And I think this is going to be definitely one of the more this is the only serious moment this week. The rest of this week is totally not serious, by the way. Let me just emphasize this. This week is pretty much a really good week to I don't want to say not do anything, but this week is a great week to not feel pressured to go a million miles an hour or really do anything. There's a lot of slothness to this energy. Anyway, we leave Tuesday, we go into Wednesday, and we get the Moon conjoining Jupiter, and then the Moon's going to start applying to Mercury, conjoin Mercury. Notice at the same time the Sun's going to be conjoining Neptune. So Wednesday gets a little bit weird. The Moon conjoining Jupiter, though, it's great. You're what are the opportunities? Where do I need to integrate myself within this new context? What are the opportunities? Where do I see the hope? Where's my faith put into play, right? Mercury's still pretty close to Jupiter. And now that the Moon is taking what it learned from Jupiter and giving it to Mercury, Mercury's going, okay, now I can create solutions. Now I can create a plan. Mercury is about to leave shadow. Mercury leaves shadow this week. And as the Moon conjoins Mercury here, there's this sense of kind of getting it. What have you learned since, when did Mercury went into shadow? In the middle of January. So that's 2 weeks of January, 3 or 4 weeks of February. We're already almost into the second week of March. That's a long time for Mercury to be in one space. And we finally get to this point. This is that final conclusion, because after this, Mercury leaves, this is kind of what have we learned? What have we figured it out? Are we starting to get it? Is it starting to click in a sense? And I think this is exciting in the sense that, everything that we've been kind of doing for the past couple months, that's been very new. It's starting to feel comfortable. We're starting to get, used to it. At first it was a lot, but also on Wednesday, we're going to have the Sun conjoining Neptune, where the Sun conjoining Neptune is I talked about this. I'm pretty sure I talked about this in my monthly horoscope about, it's shining a light underneath like a murky lake. There's light, right? There's luminosity, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can see more. Does that make sense? Well, think of a light in a pool. Think of a light or underwater. Sure, there's illumination. There's a little bit that you could see more, but it doesn't clear things up. Things are still murky. Things are still blurry. It's kind of I think of the Sun conjoining Neptune as when you have water and oil that have been sitting in the same container and they're separated. The Sun conjoining Neptune is just shaking that up, and everything gets kind of brought together again. The Sun conjoining Neptune, I think, is also going to feel kind of, well, for one, look, this week we have the Sun conjoining Neptune, then we're going to have the new moon in Pisces, then we're going to have Venus conjoining Neptune, and that new moon in Pisces is pretty much on Neptune too. So, this isn't the first round of Neptune energy we get, but I think this is where we, where it's okay, we're 45 minutes into our trip and we're starting to feel it come up, right? We're starting to feel it hit. And what I mean by that is, Neptune causes blurriness, Neptune causes confusion, but Neptune is also really idealistic, right? And Neptune is also, seeing things through rose-colored glasses, seeing things better than what they are, right? So there's kind of a give and take with Neptune, whether it's good or bad. And I think the Sun conjoining Neptune as well, there could be this, sure, it's not what it's all made up to be, but enjoy the magic of it. Like, it's like watching a movie, right? You can watch a movie and be like, oh, this is all bullshit, all of this is fake, or you can just shut up and enjoy things, and you can just enjoy the experience. Like, that's the one thing I love about Neptune. It's like it submerges your experience with things to where you question like what reality is. Like, it's kind of like, I think of Neptune so much like, virtual reality, right? And so I think Sun conjoining Neptune, for one. Now, if you want to say this is a Neptune cazimi, I'm hesitant with using that phrase with an outer planet, right? And I don't necessarily think Neptune's in the business of conjoining the Sun like that. But what I will say though is that look at where Pisces is at in your chart. Where are all of these transits happening? Because this is where you're going to see things much more either idealistically, and you're going to be like, wow, everything's really great, even though things are just kind of okay, which is fine. Do that. If things look great, don't ignore it. Like, if things look beautiful to you, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, go for it. But there's this other side of Neptune where, are you seeing things clearly? Because it's easy to be deceived. I mean, like, we're literally deceived and manipulated all day long, thanks to, consumerism and media and all of that type of stuff. So the question is, like, are you really seeing what you're seeing? And this isn't necessarily like again, it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just, I think this is a time to realize maybe, for example, this is why I use acid as an analogy for Neptune. Because there's a time, like, when you're tripping acid, you'll see some crazy stuff and you go, okay, I'm tripping. Like, this is not reality. However, like, acid, what's funny about acid is it's a commitment. Like, you are gone for about 6 or 7 hours. And so you can sit there and go, okay, this isn't reality, but I'm at least going to enjoy my time. There's this sense of you have to surrender to it and you have to enjoy it. And it might teach you something, right? So I think with the Sun conjoining Neptune, it's like the movie Magic, right? Feel that. Where is that at in your life? Look at where Pisces is at in your chart. And at the same time, the moon's conjoining Jupiter, the moon's conjoining Mercury. Things are starting to click. Things are starting to make sense. You're starting to see things in this bigger way, right? Wednesday really it's kind of like if you were to go to a concert with your friends and you really didn't want to go, but now you're starting to have a fun time. We get to Thursday. Now, wow, I'm actually kind of going through this week pretty quick. We get to Thursday. The moon will go into Pisces, right? Moon's dark at this point. The moon's going to square Mars. This looks a little weird. Sun, Neptune, Venus, both, underneath the beams of the sun. The moon's there too. This looks very confusing. I like to call Pisces the true water sign because, and you might have heard, I'm probably like a broken record with this because I say this a lot. But I say that because Pisces is, for one, a mutable sign. It's all about changes, right? Something I talk a lot about with Pisces is very much being like about its environment. Like, it's really shaped off of its environment, right? If it's in a nice, safe, fun environment, then Pisces will be fun and safe, right? Or fun and outgoing, right? Versus the opposite. But with everything in Pisces like this, to go back to why Pisces is the truest water sign. So when you think of water could be a solid, a liquid, or a gas, right? There's technically another state of matter, but it really depends on water's environment, the temperature of that environment, of whether it is a solid, a liquid, or a gas. Now, this to me looks very gaseous, and that's not bad. Like, I don't think anyone complains about the drugs the dentist gives you to, like, do tooth work, or, for example, I grew up, my stepdad was like really into racing cars and everything. And it's, you wonder why, like, how come all of these people are like into race? Like, racing's cool, but it's not that cool. I mean, you realize a lot of these like mechanic people, they're like working on cars, they're just inhaling all these fumes, just getting high off of it, right? Like there's and something too, I mean, especially in like motocross and stuff like that, like the different smells and fumes from you know, a 2-stroke or a 4-stroke, and the different, you know, grades of fuel, and you could smell it, right? That's how I would almost put all of this Pisces stuff, where we're kind of high on some gases here, and it's not bad, but I would also say this is gaseous, right? The moon's in Pisces at this point, so everything's kind of up in the air. I think this can be very oversensitive in one way. Like if you're a very hypersensitive person in the sense of like too much stimulation, this looks like one of those days where you might be really overstimulated. I mean, the moon, the only thing I wanted to bring up though is while all of this Pisces stuff is going on, like we're enjoying in other words, the fumes, we're enjoying how things are, or we're kind of getting that head change almost in a sense. The moon is squaring Mars, where Mars is like, Moon in Pisces is like, oh, this is fun, but Mars in Gemini is like, why are, like, what? Like, you can't, like, why are you doing this? Mars in Gemini is like, you know, we need to do things that make sense. We need to act rationally. And the moon in Pisces squaring Mars is like, you know, what if instead of acting like, you know what to do, how about we just, you know, be there in the moment, be open in the moment. Like this is where the moon, I think the moon squaring Mars it's going to be kind of frustrating, where the moon in Pisces is being very woo-woo, being very woke, and Mars in Gemini is like, I kind of don't play that game. Like, don't give me metaphors and analogies. The moon in Pisces is like pretty much serving them up really hot. I think on Thursday, with this moon going into Pisces squaring Mars, there's this sense of like, you know, you're kind of getting that head change. You're feeling good, but you know that that's not helping you move forward in some way, right? Like Mars and Gemini is like, hey, you know, unless you actually know what you're doing, you're not going to be able to take action. That's the thing with Mars and Gemini. Mars and Gemini, you know, jack of all trades, master of none type thing. It's Mars and Gemini needs to be able to just get the gist of things in order to take action, right? Like it just needs to be able to like, hey, just let me know what's going on and I'll figure out the rest. Mars and Gemini is a good learner. The problem is with everything squaring Pisces is like, the gist is not being get. Like Mars and Gemini is like, what the fuck are you saying, moon in Pisces? And the moon in Pisces is just like, kind of just rambling on another one. So I think on Thursday, this is so much, you know, clearly maybe we shouldn't be taking a ton of action on Thursday. With all this stuff in Pisces, just feel it out, man. Like enjoy, you know, enjoy the fumes of stuff. Or like, or if you've ever fill up gasoline, I'm a weirdo, so I like this fume of gas. Like I think gas smells good. Like enjoy it, just, or like, especially too, since I stopped smoking cigarettes, like when I'm around cigarette smokers, like it's all more enjoyable too at the same time. I think with all this Pisces stuff on Thursday, it's just kind of a day to kind of settle things out and enjoy that feeling, because also we're building up for the new moon in Pisces, which that kind of leads us to Friday. Friday is really the big day of the week, and we have the new moon in Pisces. Mercury also leaves shadow on Friday. The moon is also going to be conjoining Venus and conjoining Neptune before it makes this new moon. So let's start off with the moon. Let's start off with Mercury leaving shadow. Mercury doesn't leave shadow till later in the afternoon, but again, think of what this Mercury retrograde has done. Mercury's been in Aquarius for, forever at this point. But now that Mercury's finally leaving shadow, we're finally over all of those things that we've learned. And now it's just going to be Jupiter and Saturn pretty much hanging out in Aquarius. But now that Mercury's moving forward, now that Mercury's out of shadow, for one, it's going to feel like a breath of fresh air. Like, it's kind of like if you've ever had to retake I never got held back, and I never had to go to summer school, but I had to retake Algebra 1, and I fucking hated it. But I feel like Mercury retrograding and then leaving out of shadow, it's like when you take a class and then you fail that class, and then you got to take it again, and then it's like, once Mercury leaves shadow, it's like, finally, I'm over that. Like, we can finally move on to new battlegrounds, right? And this is Mercury. Mercury's about communication. Mercury's about our thoughts, our ideas. And Mercury's been in, super abstract Aquarius for a while, where it can, it's going into Pisces, where it's not going to get much more realistic, but, it could at least Mercury can see a new way, get into new territory at this point, right? But then, the moon's still going to be in Pisces, conjoining Venus. This is pretty hot. I think Venus is still combust, so it's not like Venus is operating at her best, but Venus is exalted. Venus has a little bit of dignity here. The moon is conjoining Venus. The moon will conjoin Venus, and then it will conjoin Neptune before it hits this new moon. So this is really like feeling really good to being like, holy shit, this is crazy, to like, it's kind of like, it's like have you ever seen someone have like an emotional breakthrough? Like there's breakthroughs where things like click, and then there's breakthroughs where you're like, wow, I feel that. Like I can feel that. And I feel like that's what this moon Venus Neptune new moon thing is. But it's not so much breakthrough, because breakthrough sounds so like violent, like so like forceful. This is much more of like feeling, like truly being able to feel things and express that feeling, enjoy that feeling. I think it is going to be, especially for the again, for the very hypersensitive people, like the people that can deal with overstimulation. This looks like a lot. Like this is going to be a lot for some people, and for other people's this is going to feel like nothing. Those are pretty much the two moods with Pisces. It's either so much or it's like nothing for people. However, it's a new moon, right? We're looking at one area of our chart where we're bringing things together, where the energy is kind of coming to anew, right? Things are kind of getting settled down. Where does Pisces rule in your chart? Where where in that part of your life are you cleaning things out, clearing things out? For me, like the new moon in Pisces is in my 4th house, and hey, I'm probably going to be decorating my place and also probably tripping acid here. But that's on some other stuff. With the But with this new moon, though, I mean, it's also ruled by Jupiter. We had the last eclipses, I mean, for one, we're also in the middle of eclipse. We're in between eclipse season. But I'm pretty sure the last time when we had eclipses in Sagittarius, I'm pretty sure Jupiter was still in Capricorn, if I'm not mistaken. So why I'm bringing that up is because this is, a lunation ruled by Jupiter, with Jupiter in Aquarius now. This is both the luminaries in Jupiter sign. This is Venus in Jupiter sign. I think this is really, stepping into that creative motion, right? Like Jupiter's in Aquarius. There's all these opportunities. Jupiter is now, visible. You can actually see what's going on with Jupiter now. This is where we start to, the creative juices start flowing, right? I think at this point. So Saturday. I mean, Friday looks really great. We jump into Saturday. Basically the big thing with Saturday is the moon will leave Pisces, go into Aries, and it'll make a sextile to Mars. It's kind of like, if you're a creative person, this is something I struggle with a lot, but like when you're a creative person, you have an idea, you have to write that idea down or go for it right then. Otherwise, like, you lose it. And I'm super bad at that. I need to be better at it. But this moon in Aries, we have new moon in Pisces, moon goes into Aries, sextile Mars. That is like you do the ayahuasca ceremony. You have the breakthrough, you take new action. Like, it's literally going to be like that. The moon's going to go into Aries being like, whoa, I feel, empowered. I feel like I can engage with myself in a new way. And with the moon sextiling Mars, this is going, okay, I know how I feel. My emotions are ramped up. Now I need to go take action. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to go here. I need to go there. I think Saturday, as the moon, for one, the moon's still going to be in Pisces. The new moon will be super late on Friday night, early into Saturday morning. And then the moon doesn't really leave Aries or get into Aries until, again, later in the evening on Saturday. So Saturday's still kind of like coming off the new moon. Again, it's like you do the DMT, you do the acid, you think about things, and then you go, okay, like, how can I move forward from here? What's new? What's next after this? So I think Saturday's looking great. The one thing I want to bring up is also Venus is conjoining Neptune. Now, this would be so much better if, of course, Venus wasn't combust. However, Venus conjoining Neptune, really good for the artistic people out there. This is a really good week for all my artsy people, my music people, my creatives. Like, this week, like, feel this week. A lot of you guys are gonna be on some sick shit. But with Venus conjoining Neptune, this is really like saturating the colors. Again, Venus is connection. Venus is beauty. Venus is like, what do we want? And Pisces is like, we just want it all. We just want, what I love. It's funny. Um, I think of Saturn and Pisces as like ice, or like maybe like a cell membrane, right? Like it doesn't have good boundaries. Venus is like connection, right? Venus is like sticky and wet, right? Venus, I know everyone is going on the gutter mind there, but Venus conjoining Neptune is like really enjoying the Venus stuff, right? Like what's good in your life? What are you trying to bring more of into your life? Where does Pisces rule in your chart? And Venus conjoining Neptune is like saturating that, like turning up the volume like 100, really embracing that. So again, this is a really good day for the creative people. For me, Venus is conjoining Neptune in my 4th house. I'm probably going to do some more decorating here, and I'm probably actually going to get my camera stuff set up to where everything looks super fucking awesome for the next video. But that also depends if that can happen or not. So Venus conjoining Neptune, great day for, well, it's a great day for relationships if you guys can speak telepathically. I think with Venus conjoining Neptune again, there's some there's overstimulation, there's a lot of emotions going on. It can be all too much, right? It's kind of like you're on acid, you're at the festival, you're with your friends. There's all these lights, there's all this music. It's kind of a lot. But again, like you're there to enjoy it, so enjoy it. Like that's I think it would be the challenge, because I know for a lot of people, a lot of people can't handle loud music. A lot of people can't handle that type of stuff. But if you're at a concert, like right now with all this stuff in Pisces, guess what? You're at the concert, you're on acid. Sure, you could probably easily freak out if you wanted to, but why would you do that? Like when you could just enjoy yourself. It's just about being clear, right? It's just about being aware of like, okay, maybe you feel a little weird. Check in with yourself, but then ask yourself, okay, what can I do to make myself feel better? How can I make myself enjoy this experience more? And I think Venus conjoining Neptune, it's really just about, surrendering to enjoying things. Yeah, I know you would think as humans, it's really easy to have fun, but I know a lot of you guys probably don't have a lot of fun, specifically because some of your guys' comments are like, man, you guys need to lighten up. And this is really where you need to lighten up. When I said earlier in the episode that this week is really about like the spiritual bath, this is the spiritual bath. Like, and this is again, I mean, I'm a big proponent of psychedelics because they can really, I mean, so for example, this might be kind of a weird analogy, but something I always tell people who are like going through like a really depressive episode, or they're like going through a lot of shit, I always recommend like go to the mental hospital. Like it sounds like bad, like we have this stigma around it, but if you literally want 3 days off of your life to literally not think of anything, and then when you go to the mental hospital, you're like, oh my God, my life is so much better than all of these people in your life because it's just so fucked up there. Like, go to the mental hospital, take 3 days. You can't go anywhere because they're holding your shit. Like, you're pretty much forced to stay there. You get to sleep a lot. You get all these nice padded rooms, right? That's pretty much all they want you to do. But it's I always try to say if you're really going through it, do that, because it's pretty much 3 days off of your life. Like, this is the same kind of deal with all this stuff in Pisces. This is like. And this is also why I use the acid analogy. It's like when you can break through spiritually, mentally, and you let all that stuff subside, you go, wow, I feel clear. I feel energized. It's like refreshing it's like, getting rid of your RAM, defragging your brain, essentially. Like, that's what this is. And so, it's going to be intense, just like going to the mental hospital is kind of intense. It's definitely not a joke, but this is your opportunity to defrag. So, when we're going into Aries season, next week we've got Mercury going to Pisces, Sun going into Aries, Venus going into Aries, Mars is trining Saturn already next week, and Mercury will sextile Uranus. So next week, I mean, like, it really goes fast. And Mercury in Pisces is not going to be able to handle it all that well. So I would recommend, like, take this week, and especially this weekend, to just get loosey-goosey, go to the spa, have some good sex, go get drunk or something. Just relax and do what you need to do to defrag your mind, defrag your heart, defrag your aura, and get cleansed. Because when the Sun goes into Aries and Venus goes into Aries, I mean, there's a lot of... it's spring, right? Like, The Pisces season is literally about the change of going from winter to spring. Winter is when everything is dead and dying. Pisces season, things are starting to grow here and there. It's starting to get a little bit warmer. But then we get into Aries season, things are growing. Sun's getting hotter. Days getting longer. It gets more fun, in my opinion. And so if you want to go into spring still holding on to everything that 2020 gave you, then my recommendation is don't do anything this weekend and just stress yourself out. But if you would like to actually defrag yourself from everything and do a whole ritual, this is the weekend. Next week, everything kind of goes much more intensely, which isn't necessarily, it's not bad. It's really good, but it's kind of tomorrow's the big day. Make sure you get a lot of rest, essentially. And this is that week to kind of rest. I know it's kind of also counterintuitive to what I usually kind of, promote or preach, but that's just what the stars are kind of saying. So I'll leave you guys with that. Thank you guys so much for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you guys. Thank you guys so much for all of your support, all of your wishes. Truly means the world to me. And with that being said, I will be seeing you. Actually, I will be seeing you next week. I'm going to be doing April horoscopes. They're going to come out probably not next week, but the week after that, once I get everything kind of set up. But yep, I'll leave you guys with that. So with that being said, thank you guys again, and I'll be seeing you next week.